And we are live. Queuing up theme song.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. You got a question for RLA? It's time to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we getting real. It's time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, global happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, oracle, Reiki practitioner, student, mother, but most importantly, let me back it up, a student, always learning, always growing, always expanding. It is a constant practice, is to be open and to practice living in the present moment. You know, somebody asked me the other day, I was at the gym, and they said, you ever get bored? Don't you get bored coming to the gym every day? And I said, there's no such thing as getting bored. No such thing. Now there is a program of I'm bored. And what does that really mean? That just means that you're programmed to believe that whatever you're doing in the moment isn't satisfying. It's really interesting, and the majority of the suffering comes from the unhappiness, comes from the programming. And in fact, thank you for asking. My latest book, it's called Programmed for Unhappiness. Exposing the Untold Truth. It is on Amazon. And in this book, I list 56 program behaviors that subtract from your happiness. And I also list 26 behaviors that you can practice that will add to happiness. And let me be clear, when I say happiness, boy, I feel like I'm shot out of a cannon. When I say happiness, I'm really talking about a personal vibration, a personal energy of contentment, of peace and contentment, regardless of what happens, regardless of what the world throws at you. And is it possible to maintain and sustain this energy of peace and contentment? Well, the answer is yes, with practice. Happiness is a practice skill. Inner peace is a practice skill. Contentment, the ability to vibrate contentment, is a practice skill. And it has nothing to do with just sitting on a mountain and being content. Everything is a practice, just like any other skill, from being an artist, being a professional athlete, being a musician, being a chef, a landscaper, a painter. It is a practice. And so all I do on this channel, all I've been doing for the last, oh Lord, how many decades? 4 decades? Lord, 4 decades? No. That's right. I'm that. 4 decades is just to share with the world and share with the audience what to practice. It ain't easy. It is a challenge. And one of the things that I always get, is, oh, that's really hard. It's easier said than done. Well, it always comes back to the individual, and it always comes back to the individual, whether they value, or whether you value, or whether you prioritize, or whether you even think that vibrating contentment is important. You can keep doing everything you're doing, be the busy little bee. But when you get right down to it, after all the goals are met, after all the achievements are accomplished, How content are you? How content are you feeling? And one of the things that I like to cite, before the famous slap heard round the world, Will Smith was interviewed in GQ magazine, and he said, in 2021, it was November 2021, GQ magazine, you can Google it. He said, I have everything: money, fame, connections all over the world. Come on. And at the time he said loving family, but he said, I'm not happy. That says it all. And this mission, my destiny, my purpose is to share with people what I've learned about this thing called happiness. And it is a practice, and it ain't easy. And the practice, all of the practice, not just some, all of the practice is done in the mirror. And who's willing to run to the mirror and say, oh, what can I do to change? What do I need to do? As opposed to pointing fingers outward. And today's show is, well, there's a lot of cornerstones, but today's show specifically, I was inspired. I don't even get the inspiration for the topic of the show until the morning of, usually 98% of the time, usually the morning of. And I was at the gym this morning, every morning, 6 a.m. at the gym for about an hour and a half. And one of the I call them dailies, one of the regulars that is there every day. In fact, his name is Zorro. He always wears black, so I gave him the nickname Zorro. And he was telling me the reason why he hadn't been to the gym in the last couple of days is his wife's car was stolen out of the driveway, and so they're going back and forth with, and it was impounded, but they won't be able to get the car out, or they won't be able to assess the damage, if any, until tomorrow, which is Monday. And he was going back and forth and saying how unsettling it was. And someone who was sharing, she said, yes, that's got to be. In fact, what did they use specific words? Oh, because I had to write it down. Traumatized, violated, unnerving, just all of these descriptive labels of how someone is supposed to feel after they've been burglarized or robbed or had their car stolen. And being a walking, talking happiness specialist, I interjected and I said, yes, I understand that, but that's one perspective. I said, there's more than one perspective, not just, I feel violated, I feel traumatized, all of that. There's more than one perspective to hold on to or to focus on. And that is not taught. I don't remember anybody teaching me about find another perspective when I was in grade school or high school or college. Find another perspective. And I told her that, and I said, I remember when I was living in California, even though I don't claim the California anymore, I remember living in California, and the house that I was living in was burglarized. And the only thing that was taken, I had this huge container of change, and I even of money that I find money in the street, and I even found $100 bill once. So all of this money was in this big container, glass container, and it was dumped out. The container was dumped out on the bed. Of course, the $100 was gone. The $20 was gone. All the paper money was gone. And I remember it was my first time and only time being, no, that's not true. The car was burglarized. That was years ago. But I remember feeling a sense of, wow, this is a real respectful robbery. There wasn't it just came over me. Now, mind you, this was, let's see, 15 years ago, at least 15 years ago. And so I was at a different level, a level of understanding, a level of growth than I am today. But I remember feeling there was some kind of ease, calm, acceptance. There wasn't a violence to it. There wasn't I didn't feel a violence to it. Fast forward to today, 2025, September 7th, 2025. And I was sharing that with this woman that came up with the adjectives of traumatized, violated. And not to say that isn't a real story. That isn't their truth. However, what I did say is that's one perspective of looking at that incident. And I asked her, can you come up with another perspective? Well, no, you can't help with feeling violated. You can't help from being upset. You can't help. And I said, I understand that, but are you able to come up with another perspective? And it was it was like I asked her to to tie your hands behind your back, and it was painful. It looked, how about this? It looked painful. And I'm asking you, my dear audience, the beliefs and the programs are so deep seated. Is it impossible? Is it painful? Is it a struggle to come up with another perspective, especially when you've thought, and when I say you, I'm using you, meaning the mind or the ego, when you've thought of just one way of looking at something forever. And if you are interested, or if you desire, or if you even prioritize wanting to experience more happiness, finding another perspective to anything that happens is a must. Let me go back just a little bit, because I didn't give the definition of happiness. My definition of happiness is the ability to vibrate an energy of peace and contentment regardless of what happens. Happiness is a state of mind. Happiness is rooted in an energy of foundational energy of peace. And I've said the word contentment because everyone can understand that, of feeling content. And feeling content doesn't have anything to do with what's going on outside. Vibrating a sense of vibrating peace has nothing to do with external circumstances. I often give the analogy of just visualizing yourself in a rowboat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and the waves are churning and the wind is blowing and the boat is rocking and up and down and up and down, and all of this external. But inside, the essence of who you are, the essence of who I am, is all peace. That's the truth. And the peace leaves when the programming begins. The programmed responses, it's when you're programmed, when you instantly react. You're not responding to life, you're reacting to life. And you know that you're reacting when it's just instant. And then the other program is, that's just who I am. No, that's who you are programmed to be. This programming is deep. This programming has infiltrated 98 probably 99% of the population. In fact, to the point where if I ask, are words powerful? I was talking to a youngster, I was talking to an 18-year-old yesterday on the OWL app. If you haven't researched the OWL app, it's OWWLL. It's an app where you can speak to different people when they go live, and you can hundreds of different expertise. In fact, I'm on the app and it's only $3 to talk to me for 10 minutes. I digress. But the point is, I was speaking with an 18-year-old, and he was in school. He was in college, and he had a double major, marketing and then communication. And he was flabbergasted when I said words innately do not have power. The majority of people, 98%, are programmed to believe that words are powerful. I get it, but innately, words are not powerful. You are programmed to believe words are powerful, and it's all about the programming. So can you imagine who is going to experience more peace and who is going to experience more calm and balance and contentment and ease? The person that believes that a word can offend you, a word can hurt your feelings, a word can make you feel this, or someone that is not moved by any words, is not insulted, is not hurt, is not moved by a word. And again, it's a practice. Now, I also get thrown in my face. Well, no, there was a very famous study, and it's done with water, and water changes its dynamic when shouted at. I hate you. I get that. I've heard that before. But what if that word hate was said with love? I hate you, water cells. I hate you, I hate you, snowflakes. What if it was said with that energy? Energy is powerful. Words are not innately powerful. But if you do believe that, know that you're programmed to believe it. And whatever you learned, you can unlearn. That's the good news. But back to today's topic with finding another perspective. Admittedly, everyone is not interested or doesn't find any value with this search, this seeking, this focus on happiness, contentment. It ain't popular. It's not the latest thing. It's not going viral. How happy am I? I don't see, well, who knows? I haven't seen all the videos in the world, but how happy am I? It's not going to go viral. Well, scratch that. Who knows? Maybe it will. But let me share a story, a true story that happened September 2021. And I was attending an event, and it was called in California, and it was called Secret Knock. Yeah, Secret Knock. And this event was attended by billionaires, millionaires, and peons. And I'm just using the word peon just for descriptive purposes. And this one, so the gentleman that started Priceline, his name is Jeff Hoffman. He was there, billionaire. The other, maybe millionaire, I don't know if he's billionaire or millionaire. And the other gentleman, I should look his name up. He started Uggs. There were just a lot of big ticket people. And there was this one gentleman, you can Google him. His name is Walter O'Brien. And Mr. O'Brien supposedly has an IQ of 197. He is the inspiration for the CBS show Scorpion. Scorpio or Scorpion? I think it's Scorpion. I better look. Let me see. Where is this? Scorpion. Supposedly he's stopped terrorist attacks in the United States. And for some reason, I was drawn to scratch that. The universe drew me to this man, and I wanted to talk to him. I was wondering if I could have a conversation with a gentleman with 197 IQ. I wonder if I could hold a conversation, hold his interest. Well, I introduced myself. This was the last day of the networking event. And I asked him, could I speak with him? And he was very generous, very gracious. And he said, sure, come on. Who are you? Who are you, lady? And I introduced myself. I'm Rebecca Norrington. I'm a happiness specialist. And before I could say anything else, he told me, he said, I would never hire you to work in any of my companies because what you do is toxic. Toxic? I started laughing. I really started laughing. I said, toxic? Happiness specialist, please tell me more, which he proceeded to do. Mr. O'Brien, Walter O'Brien, he said, I've wasted 35 plus years of my life studying and pursuing happiness. I've contributed 0 to the planet. I like that. 0 contribution. Searching for happiness and inner peace is delusional. What I've accomplished can't be measured. Therefore, I've accomplished nothing. And in fact, I wrote an article, and I wrote a chapter in this book, and it's called, what is it called? A moment in the life of a toxic, selfish, delusional, and unimportant happiness specialist. But I digress. He said I was selfish. He went on and on and on. And then my question to you is, this man with 197 IQ could only manage to come up with one perspective about this searching, this seeking, this desire, this wanting to be happy. One perspective, which is it's a waste. It's a waste of time. You're contributing nothing. You're a loser. You're worthless. Oh, by the way, I asked him for a selfie. I took a selfie with him. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull it up. September search. Hold on. I'm going to pull it up. September EMBER 2021. Beepity beep. And yes. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Me and Mr. O'Brien. Here we go. Where is this? Oh, there it is. Straight. So that's the man that said I was selfish, toxic, 0 contributed 0 to the planet. I mean, do I look like I'm upset? The practice works. Why? Number 1, words innately do not have any power. I don't care what anybody calls me or describes me as. Number 2, it's never personal. Number 3, there's 360 degrees in a circle, and this genius, 197 IQ, can only come up with one perspective. And that is the power. Who do you think is going to experience more happiness? The person that can only come up with one perspective, and usually it's not I'm not going to say negative, but it's not uplifting. It's not a feel good perspective. One perspective. Who's going to experience more happiness? The person with just one perspective, or the person that can come up with more than one? And let me just say this. This is something that, how can you analyze anything? How can you experience anything with just one perspective? And that one perspective is is authored by the mind, is authored by the ego, is authored by the constant chatter, is authored by the thoughts. Just one perspective. How limiting is that? I hear a lot, limiting beliefs, limiting. No, there's limited perspectives. if you want to experience a shift, especially when you're feeling challenged. Some people say the word stuck. There's no such thing as being stuck. But when you're challenged and you're in this one spot that you can't seem to fight out of, practice coming up with another perspective. Again, it's a practice at any moment. Well, let's see. This perspective makes me feel but if I shift the perspective, and you can even feel a shift in your body energy when that perspective is different. But again, it is a practice. One of the things that I do not say or practice saying is, this is good. If this happens, this is good. If that happens, it's bad. This is good. This is bad. Life is an experience without judgment. All judgments are a perspective. Oh, scratch that. All judgments are a program. That's what I want to say. All judgments are a learned programming. And you know what? I might as well just say brainwashed. This woman today at the gym was so brainwashed that she could not even fathom, she could not even believe there was another way of looking at a robbery. One of my biggest challenges is when 9/11 and both the World Trade Centers were blown up. And I remember, because I'd been to New York a lot of times. In fact, even to the top, they used to let you go all the way to the top of the World Trade Center and look down. And you could look down, and I remember looking at the Brooklyn Bridge from the top of the World Trade Center. And I is still teaching the same thing about different perspectives. And I remember thinking, there is no way I can come up with another perspective that is going to lift the vibration, lift the energy, other than what happened. And mind you, it's not an easy practice. And I remember standing on top of the World Trade Center and looking down and looking at the boroughs and looking at the Hudson River and looking at the ocean. And I remember seeing a small plane underneath me, flying underneath me. That was it. The World Trade Center was that high. And then, of course, taking the elevator all the way down to the lobby, then the perspective is like this. It's not like this. But I do remember going back, especially after the memorial was built, and I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to find another perspective after all the people that were killed. There's no way. I remember thinking that, and this was years ago, decades ago. Until I visited it, until I was there in person. And I remember I'm getting chills now. I just remember, if you've ever seen it, it's, I felt God, and this is my perspective. I felt God in that space. I felt the universe. I felt source. I felt, and I don't have the words to describe the awesomeness, the overwhelming spiritual connection I felt there, and looking at the names and crying, but the beauty of that place. And it's only a practice, and it's only me. And I'm not saying, well, you got to find beauty in something horrible too. I'm just saying that on that day when I visited, I was able to shift and find a connection. And that's all I'm going to say. Perspective and the ability to practice finding another perspective regardless, because when you're programmed, there is only one perspective. Usually, very rarely, but there's times that, I never thought about it like that. But that doesn't happen too often. Most of the time, the perspectives are stuck and you're only able to see it one way. In fact, I was talking to someone who one of their loved ones died. Maybe this was a while ago, and she was telling me. I said, "Are you ready to, share and talk about it?" She says, "No, no, no, no. It's too soon." And I remember thinking that it's too soon, and too soon. But I remember thinking that there's only one perspective that she was able to keep and hold and grasp, just one. And all I'm here is to share that this universe is vast. In fact, look at this picture behind me. Can you see this painting? Of course you can. I like to say that painting represents the universe. And hold on. This little speck. Let me find a speck. That little speck represents all my mind can comprehend. This is an incomprehensible universe in this human form. The mind, the ego cannot comprehend what God has created. Time. The scientists can prove it. Time is continual. There is no such thing. But here down on this earth, I get it. What time is it? I'm wasting time. That's one limited perspective. If you limit your perspectives, you are going to limit your happiness. You are going to limit the experience of finding something even deeper. I just checked my notes. Okay. One of my purpose while in the human form, and there's only one, is to transcend what the mind and the ego are unable to comprehend. Transcend what the mind and the ego refuse to accept. Number one, that the mind and the ego have no power. The thoughts, the stories, zero power. I get it. I know. And to transcend this identity of Rebecca, transcend this human form, and realize I'm energy, you're energy. Energy doesn't live. Energy doesn't live. Energy can't be created, can't be destroyed. The scientists will tell you that. And so after this human form, going back to being not human, but still energy. And that's really the essence. Who am I? Presence. Who are you? Presence, awareness, consciousness. That's it. And this moment here, this moment is temporary. There is no beginning. I didn't have a birthday. Energy doesn't have a birth date. It has always been and will always be. That's a perspective that is mind-boggling. So summing it all up, takeaways, practice. I'm giving you a homework assignment. Practice coming up with a different perspective, especially when you're challenged, especially when you're feeling, oh God, this is horrible. Practice coming up or practice finding another perspective. And if you can't, and the thing like, and practice is always the same. The more you practice, the easier it gets. The more you practice, another perspective. And if I can't, when I say if I'm not able to come up with another perspective, guess what? I practice trust that there is one. I just haven't stumbled on it yet. I practice trusting, scratch the practicing. I trust that there is one. And there's more than just one. 360 at least. There's really thousands and millions or even more than that, but there's this one perspective is so small. This is my sign for small. And also a flea. Small. But the ego and the mind need more than anything else the ego and the mind needs to be identified with, needs to have this Rebecca believe that, oh yeah, this is it. No. Pull away. You're not a slave to your mind. You're not a slave to your ego unless it is so foreign and you feel so challenged you can't pull out of that hole. Find a new perspective. Practice finding a new perspective. I guarantee you, you will be happier. And before I leave you, you can Google the 5 most common regrets of the dying. The 5 most common regrets of the dying. It was done by a hospice nurse. And the last regret of people that have days, weeks, months to live is, I wish I would have been happier. My nose is itching. Not inside, just on the outside. I wish I would have been happier. In fact, I teach classes, the truth about happiness, and these classes are for seniors, 55 plus. So I have students in their 80s, in their 90s, still wanting more information, still seeking, still searching, because people you've accomplished, you've lived, you got all this, you got all these titles behind your name, maybe money in the bank, but you ain't happy. What's that all about, Alfie? Yeah, there's people that are still 80s and 90s searching and seeking. And all I'm saying is, let's start with that. Let's build a foundation first. Let's build that foundation. Let's make sure the home, the internal home is rooted in peace, is rooted in trust, is rooted in surrendering, is rooted in accepting, is rooted in not resisting the present moment, is rooted in living in the present moment. That's a start. Everything is perspective. And when you find yourself stuck with just one, just know that you are programmed. Hey, you're programmed anyway. I'm still programmed, working through the last few. Yeah, Rebecca doesn't have a voice, doesn't have a say, she's not driving anymore. Sorry, Rebecca, you're going to have to sit down. Well, that's the end of today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality Radio every Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. Follow me on X at RL Norrington. I'm on LinkedIn, Rebecca Norrington. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. My YouTube channel, what's up? My YouTube channel is growing. And my website is RebeccaNorrington.com, ReBeccaNorrington.com. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, was published in 2014, but the latest book, and I'm telling you, this is triggering. This isn't a feel good, oh, I feel great. No, this is triggering because this is the truth. Exposing the Untold Truth. It's on Amazon. And until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You are a drop of water in the ocean. You and the ocean are the same. You are conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey every day, the journey every moment. Where are you? Are you living in the future or in the past? Or are you practicing living in the present moment? Which do you think is going to bring more peace and happiness? The present moment is the answer. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, Global Happiness Specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. And remember, happiness is a practice skill. And I promise you, the more you practice, the more peace you're going to find, and your experience in every moment reflects on what you practice. Have a conscious week. Thank you for listening. Tell a friend, like and subscribe, Cueing the theme song again.
Oh, it's time to get real. It's a new experience. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now.
Question for RLN.
It's time to get some answers, baby.
Oh, now you're getting real.
Time to get down.